And now we welcome a very special guest to the studio, His Excellency Yacov Livne, Israeli Ambassador to Poland. Your Excellency, thank you very much for joining us at such short notice. We appreciate you coming in because it's always best to speak face-to-face about these complex issues. And now, perhaps the first question as a warm-up. What is the official stance of the Israeli government and the Israeli Defense Forces concerning this the strike on the humanitarian aid workers from the World Central Kitchen?
Well, as we have said repeatedly, we express deep regret over what has happened in Gaza. And I would also like personally to offer our condolences, my own condolences, to the tragic death of the 7 members of the organization World Central Kitchen, people who came to Gaza to assist people who need this assistance. One of these people who was killed was a Polish citizen, Mr. Damian Sobul. This is a real tragedy that happened in times of war, in difficult times. We will investigate what has happened, understand what actually took place, and take every possible measure that such things will not be repeated, of course. So this is the situation currently.
Now, Mr. Ambassador, I have to ask, because one of the reports from Israeli media says that, that this convoy, although they had expressed with the IDF, normally they coordinate with COGAT, which is the Coordinator of Government Activities in the territories, but this time they coordinated directly with the IDF. And there are media reports that say that the convoy was specifically targeted because the IDF was suspicious that there could have been a terrorist amongst these humanitarian aid workers. Is that possible, that the IDF would make such a decision? And have there been situations in the past when such decisions like that have been made?
Well, it's important to remind us all, the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces, have never targeted civilians in order to kill them. We are targeting only Hamas terrorists who unfortunately hide behind the backs of their own civilian population in Gaza. Actually, we have a situation in which tens of thousands of these jihadi Islamists are hiding behind about 2 million civilian people in Gaza. This tragic event happened during the night, during a time of a very difficult war that we are having now for 6 months. We're still in a situation where more than 130 Israeli hostages are being held by the Hamas. We're speaking here. I have the yellow ribbon to remind us all about what is actually happening in Gaza today and why the war in Gaza has started. So this is the situation in which we are. This is a war that we need to win, not only for the sake of Israel, but for the sake for the Western civilization. This is the kind of war that we are having now.
But going back to the convoy, is it a confirmed fact? I believe it is a confirmed fact that the movements of this convoy were coordinated with the IDF.
And it was struck, I'm sorry, but it was struck not just once, but 3 times.
Well, obviously we would not target and we would not hit a humanitarian convoy in purpose. This is simply something that the IDF does not do. But a tragic event has happened. And we need to investigate this. This is what we are doing now. We hope that the results of the investigation will be clear in a matter of days, and then we'll be able to share this information with our friends and partners, also, of course, in Poland. I spoke yesterday with the Foreign Minister, Mr. Sikorski, and promised him that once we have reliable information, once we understand exactly what has happened, we will share this with the Foreign Ministry, with our colleagues in Poland, because this is how we operate, this is what we do.
Do you have any idea how those who will be found responsible, what consequences, what will happen to those people?
Well, I think first we need to understand what happened, how it happened, how this accident was possible, to make sure that it will not repeat itself, and then, of course, draw all the necessary conclusions, as we always do.
We want to take Prime Minister Netanyahu had made a statement concerning this event. Let's take a quick listen real quick to hear what the Prime Minister had to say.
Unfortunately, yesterday there was a tragic case of our forces unintentionally hitting innocent people in the Gaza Strip. That happens in war. We will investigate it to the very end. We are in contact with the governments of the victims, and we will do everything possible to prevent this from happening again.
So, I know you've expressed just how important it is to have an investigation, a thorough investigation, which tells us exactly why this happened. But in the meantime, as a result of this strike, at the same time, many humanitarian aid organizations are pulling out their foreign staff until this investigation is underway, completed, and whatnot. So this leaves the people of Gaza in an even more difficult situation at this time, the civilians.
Well, the situation in Gaza is very difficult because of the Hamas. This is something that we need to remind ourselves. It has been difficult for almost 20 years since the Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip, murdered all of their political opponents, and actually ended up in making sure that no Palestinian in Gaza will be able to say what they think. During the last 6 months, we are in a war that is a result of the brutal, unprecedented attack of the Hamas on Israel. Actually, an attack that we have not seen since the Holocaust. This is why we're having now this war against the Hamas that we have to win. Now, we have done everything in the past, and we will continue to do everything possible to make sure that humanitarian assistance will arrive, will reach the people of Gaza. The World Central Kitchen organization, whose people were tragically killed, is an organization with which we are cooperating on a daily basis. They play an important role in bringing food to people in Gaza. We will certainly continue to do this.
At the moment, organizations are actually withdrawing their activities because they're essentially worried that they will get attacked.
This is one of the reasons why we need to understand exactly what happened, so that such tragedies will not happen again. We are in close contact with all the organizations, all the relief organizations that are operating in Gaza, and we will make sure that they will continue and have the possibility to bring humanitarian assistance, to bring food to people of Gaza.
We have limited time. I'm very conscious that we have limited time with you, and we have many questions that we'd like to ask you. Perhaps moving on to more domestic issues, perhaps we should have a look at what Prime Minister Tusk and Foreign Minister Sikorski had to say. Perhaps we can have a look at some footage from their statements.
It's not my job to comment on the words of other countries' prime ministers, but I don't think this was a mere accident, as some officials are trying to frame it. The international community's outrage at the response to what happened also shows that it cannot be treated as just some wartime mishap. If it is confirmed, as reported in the Israeli press, that this was a deliberate attack because they thought there was a terrorist there, my ethical sensibilities do not allow me to sacrifice the lives of 7 civilians to kill a terrorist who posed no immediate threat. Something is very wrong with the Israeli rules on the use of weapons. And let me remind you, they have already killed their own hostages as well. If what happened really is as reported in the Israeli press, and we have been promised an in-depth investigation and cooperation with our prosecution, then Israel owes the families of these volunteers an apology and compensation.
And the obvious question is, what is your response to these statements? There's been quite a lot of uproar on Polish social media, which I'm sure you've been following.
We fully understand that there are many people in Poland who grieve with the family of Mr. Sobol. So do we. This is a tragic event that should not have happened, and we will investigate how it happened and why. I think what we should concentrate today is on the way forward. What can we do together with our friends and partners in Poland in order to make sure that the Hamas terrorist organization is defeated, that the Israeli hostages will return to their families, and that we will have a better and stable situation not only in the Middle East, but also in the world. This is what we are aiming at as we speak.
Just for a reminder as well, another social media post by Prime Minister Donald Tusk. He said, Prime Minister Netanyahu, Ambassador Livne, the vast majority of Poles demonstrated full solidarity with Israel following the Hamas attack last October. Today you're putting this solidarity into question. This tragic attack on the volunteers and your reactions are drawing understandable anger. Again, sir, if you could please respond to this, because I would say here in Poland, observing the situation since October 7th, I believe here on our news station as well, I believe Poles have been with Israel since October 7th.
Once again, it's very important to reiterate, we deeply regret what has happened. Obviously, we're sorry for that, and we are going to investigate how it happened. But we should not forget the basic things that unite us. We should not forget that Israel and Poland, Israel and the Western world, we stand on the same side of history. We stand on the same side of the battle that is happening today between civilization and barbarity. These are the basic facts that we have to keep in mind and work together to solve the issues and the problems that are currently at hand.
Are you concerned about this event devolving in some way throughout Polish society, causing a rift between Polish and Israeli relations?
Well, I hope it will not be the case. Unfortunately, we have seen since the beginning of the war against Hamas a surge of anti-Semitism in many countries, not only in Poland, and obviously it was part of what we had to deal with. But I believe we should deal with this together with the Polish government, with the main political responsible parties in Poland, and I'm sure we can achieve good results working together.
But you mentioned a surge of anti-Semitism in several countries. I think that was the case in the UK and in France once the war began. But I think in Poland that really wasn't the case. I don't know what your observations were, but I really think that the Poles were very supportive of Israel.
Well, unfortunately, the surge of anti-Semitism happened not only in Great Britain or France. It also happened in many countries, also in this country, in Poland. We saw anti-Israeli and anti-Semitic demonstrations on the streets of most of the large cities in Poland, something that we regret very much. I think something that many responsible people in Poland have also regretted. Anti-Semitism is something that we have to fight together. Because it's not so much, as I often say, it's not so much the problem of Israel or of the Jewish community. It's first and foremost a problem of the society in which it exists. Once again, we need to fight this together, but we always need to remember that in the case of countries such as Poland and Israel, we are in the same camp, on the same side of civilization fighting against barbarity. I cannot emphasize this enough. This is the kind of struggle, the kind of challenge that we are facing now.
And as we conclude, Mr. Ambassador, are you confident that justice will be served once this investigation is complete?
The Israeli judicial system is considered, I think, to be one of the strongest and efficient, I would say, in the world. It operates very successfully, also in tragic events such as this one. I'm sure that the results will be clear, and they will also be transparently shared with our friends in Poland.
Just one final question. Does that mean that you will be working in parallel with the district prosecutor from Przemyśl? Because I understand that they also would like to undertake their independent investigation.
The investigation will be conducted, as always, by Israeli authorities, first and foremost by the military authorities who are there in Gaza. Let us not forget, this is a zone of war. So it's not that easy to conduct such an investigation. It's not as if we can just walk in and collect all the evidence. In times of war, it's significantly more difficult. But we will conduct this investigation. We will make every effort to understand exactly what has happened and how this tragic event could take place.
Okay. Ambassador Yacov Livne, thank you very much for joining us today on TVP World. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.